It's the Eagle Community Television Forum with your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi everyone, and welcome to the Forum here on Eagle Community Television. It's good to have you watching along as the Forum's brought to you by Hayes Med. Our guest is Andree Brisson, and she is part of Fort Hays State University. She's actually a professor in biology, but she's a coordinator for sustainability at Fort Hays State University. And Andree, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you make it to Fort Hays State University?
Interesting question. I moved here about 10 years ago. I married a professor in biology.
And that brings you right here to Fort Hays
that
State.
brought me right here.
Now, you have a French name. Mm-hmm. I'm assuming you didn't grow up in Ellis County, because you said you've been here 10 years. Where did you grow up? Where's your home?
I grew up in northern New Jersey. I have a French mother. And basically spent my first half of my life in the New Jersey, New York area, and then came out to New Mexico and California and really have become a Westerner.
Well, I can see if you've covered that part of the world, you covered the West. How does Hays compare to those other places?
Well, it's smack dab in the middle.
It's easy to get either side, right?
Yeah. It's easy to get to either side. I have a daughter in California, so it's nice to get out there, and some family on the East Coast in California. So,
Andree, the reason for our program is that we're talking about sustainability, and the state of Kansas, and I was surprised when I read this, has a mission for the Regents University. Tell us about what their mission is on sustainability and resources in our country.
Kansas Board of Regents?
Yes.
Should I read this?
Why don't you read that for me? Read that because it really leads into what the Kansas Board of Regents is looking for.
I think it does. This is from Kansas Board of Regents, 2009 Sustainability Reports. Sustainability presumes that the planet's resources are finite and should be used conservatively, wisely, and equitably. Decisions and investments aimed to promote sustainability will simultaneously advance economic vitality, ecological integrity, and social welfare. So a powerful statement.
It's a powerful statement, and I really, when thinking about it, didn't know that the Kansas Board of Regents was involved in this. So what are you doing, and what is Fort Hays doing to really make that mission work at Fort Hays?
I think at this point, really, there is an awareness. I'm it right now in the department, but I do have student help, and I also am chair of a sustainability task force. So I try to kind of gather anyone who is interested and move towards it. So at this point, really, it's an awareness campaign, but we do have a sustainability certificate on campus, which is effectively, you have a major, you have a minor, and it's kind of a mini minor, the certificate. So you get some experience, knowledge of sustainability. We have a learning community, our first sustainability learning community on campus, called Earthrise. And we have events on campus all year, 3 major events. I can tell you about those. And I think we have other things as well.
This isn't new because I was again surprised that you started back in 2009 and 10, really starting working on this project, correct?
2009 really was when a sustainability task force was formed. So basically, professors coming together to try to see what we could do at Fort Hays. I was appointed sustainability coordinator about 1.5 years ago, and really it's my passion, and I've really put kind of my heart and soul into that, and I think we've moved along at a pretty good pace, getting the certificate started, getting a BGS, a Bachelor of General Studies in Sustainability, getting a lot of student interest, getting a learning community, so we're really moving forward. I also have a Facebook and Twitter, FHSU Sustainability, so please like us, and you'll learn a lot more following that.
I've learned a lot just doing some research for this. One of the things, and it's an easy question to ask, but it really sums up probably the challenges you have. Mm-hmm. Do people get it?
That's an interesting question. I think a lot do not get it. I think we're so involved in our day-to-day lives. Students are busy, faculty are busy. But I will say, personally, I think we are at critical times with sustainability. Basically, it is the capacity of the earth and life to persist and endure indefinitely. And I think with critical issues such as climate change, et cetera, et cetera, I don't really see sometimes a very clear future with that. So I think awareness is really important, and I think that's really where we're starting. It's sort of a grassroots effort. I'm basically mobilizing students wherever they are interested, but sustainability is many things. It's endangered species, it's climate change, it's pollution. So I think everyone has some interest in sustainability, whether they realize it or not.
You know, we live in one small part of it, but I had a chance to be in Chicago, and they have a very wonderful museum that talks about the history of the world, and you go through that, and you realize how many times the Earth has changed and where we are today, and being able to continue that not only for the next generation, but generations to come to be able to do that. You have students coming in, they're actually going through taking classes, you say can get credit for this as well. What do you teach in those classes? What are they taught in those classes?
I teach I will be teaching conservation biology, global environmental issues, global challenges, and basically we try to teach the global challenges is very interdisciplinary. So you look at politics, you look at economics. You know, economics basically a huge driving force, using resources, affecting and influencing politics. So that is part of it. You know, it really goes beyond just the biology and the environmental side, and it influences everything. Climate change, in my opinion, and I think many others, it's a global problem. It will change everything.
Well, we look at here so many things. We depend on natural resources for agriculture and our survivability out here, and being able to preserve those for a long time sure makes a difference. You mentioned there are some special programs that you have going on throughout the year, 3 events that you have on an annual basis. Can you talk a little bit more about those?
Yes, the first one is really interesting. I just started that this year. It is due to the Pope's encyclical, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, but the Pope is very concerned with climate change, and he created a day. It was this September 1st, this was the first year, and I have it written down actually because I don't remember exactly what he called it. It was World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation. So we had Father Awatwi from the campus Catholic Center come, and he interpreted the encyclical, and we had a group of maybe 25 students there. He also did a blessing for the earth. So this is something I plan to do annually. It was really well received, and I am grateful that we have the Pope recognizing this, really recognizing modern critical problems. Then we have Campus Sustainability Day, which wraps into a group, a national organization we are a part of. It's ASHE, and that's Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Education. So they have a Campus Sustainability Day. So campuses, and I think they have maybe 200 plus members of that group across the country, colleges and universities. And we come together and basically present. I had students presenting on that. So it was monarch butterflies, monarch butterfly migration, the decline of monarch butterflies. We had another student, a freshman, on presenting on bees. Her family owns bees just outside of Hayes, and we're going to try to get bees on campus. We're going to try to be a Bee Campus USA, as well as a Tree Campus USA. So a lot of things are going on. We had endangered species presenting on Campus Sustainability Day, overpopulation, and bird-friendly coffees. So that was what the students chose. I have them really choose what they're interested in. As I said, sustainability is, you know, kind of a big topic, and you can always find something you're interested in.
And you mentioned your Facebook page. I assume you talk about some of that on your Facebook page as well.
Yes, I'll get back to that in a moment, because the last thing we have is Earth Day. That is a big event, and that's April 22nd.
That's a nationwide thing, too.
That is a nationwide. It started in 1970. President Nixon, his administration started it. It's been going since 1970, and that's really across the world. So we have a really very big event on campus. I invite you to come to that. It's really great. We do a lot of interesting things. Well, tree hugging and all kinds of things.
Oh, we do that, right? And you know, there's a lot of trees out in Fort Hays State down on the campus, and that's what I've noticed. You look at areas in Hays, that are really different than some of the western part of Kansas where it's just flat and no trees. The campus is a good place if you like trees to hang out.
Absolutely, and you've now led me to something else. We have a lot of tree diversity, biodiversity on our campus. So for Tree Campus USA, we're going to try to identify all of these, have it available on a map and virtually so people can take tours. We also have what is called a champion tree on our campus, and a champion tree is basically a designation from Kansas, the state of Kansas. It is the largest blue spruce in Kansas on our quad, and that's the tree we hug on Earth Day.
How cool is that? Well, Andree, if you'll stay with us for a minute, we're going to
Sure.
take a break, come back and talk about some things going to happen in the future, dealing with sustainability in Fort Hays State. We might also talk about those big windmills and how they play into sustainability as well. The wind generators out on the west side of Fort Hays. Our program is brought to you by Hays Med. We'll be back after this.
It's a beautiful day in our super high-speed internet great customer service neighborhood. Like you, this is where we live. In fact, our company is employee-owned, so it's our goal to improve the quality of life for everyone in our community by delivering faster, more reliable internet, clearer, more feature-laden phone service, quality TV channels, all with the level of customer service you'd expect from people who are your neighbors. Eagle Communications, our community connected.
We're talking about sustainability, our Earth, and Fort Hays State with our guest Andree Brisson. And if you would like to talk about today's show, comment back, send me some ideas for a future show. Send them to me at gary.shorman@eaglecom.net. You can also find us on Facebook under ECTV Forum. We'd like to make you our friend on Facebook. Andree Brisson is our guest here, and she is the Sustainability Coordinator at Fort Hays State University. And Andree, we're talking about some of the things that are coming up in the future. You have some fun plans. Not only Earth Day's coming up, we have the new September 1st day that we had to look up. You know, the Pope is involved with the World. What was the name of that? The World?
Oh, where are we on that? World Day of Prayer for the Care of Creation.
So other things that you have in store other than that going on? What about things where you actually take the students outdoors and do things?
I'd like to do more of that. I do take my Earthrise Learning Community out. I've taken them to the Land Institute in Salina, to the Prairie Festival. We camp there, we square dance, and there's sustainability talks all weekend from national and international speakers, which is fantastic. I'm taking the Earthrise Learning Community on Sunday, this Sunday, to Rolling Hills Zoo. We are going to have a talk about endangered species, which they have a few of. So,
one of the other things that we talked about during the break was who all is involved, and you mentioned having more diversity within the sustainability group. Why is that? Is that because it tends to be focused just in certain areas?
Well, that's an interesting question. Personally, I'm just very big on diversity. I think having a French mother, also women in science. I think just, again, we're at critical times. I think we gain so much more when we have diversity of culture, all kinds of perspectives working on these issues and these problems.
How much of an activist do you have to be in this?
That's a good question too. I feel I need to be more of an activist.
Is that the scientific part coming out in you?
It's actually interesting. No, I think that's my growing up as a child in the 70s and my parents coming out of me. But no, it's sort of interesting. In science, we're sort of taught to, of course, be unbiased, right? We have to be unbiased.
That's hard to do no matter what you're doing.
It's hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, everything is relatively subjective, but when we are performing our experiments, we gain information that is unbiased. That's what we need to do. When we see that information, that data, it will tell us something, right? It will indicate something. It will be evidence of something. So for example, with climate change, we have many scientists who have basically said, all of my data shows an increase in the planet's warming, okay? So for me at this point, I think that, we've always been said just unbiased and you're not to be an advocate of this, because effectively then you may start fudging your data. But my feeling is if you see data pointing in a direction, and it's a pretty nasty conclusion, I do think you want to get involved. So I'm actually hoping for more of a paradigm shift in science where if we see this, we can advocate to make change. So I actually have that activism in me. I really have to harness it and rein it in a lot. But at the same time, I think with certain things like climate change, we should be doing a lot more than we're doing.
You know, sometimes you see as little steps at a time, and Fort Hays State, one of the few universities in the country that has some of their own sustainable power. When you look at the big wind generators out to the west of town, and you know, those are little steps. Now you go north of town, there's a huge wind farm that's up there. You go to the east, there's a huge, all those weren't around just a few years ago. And you see those steps taking, and I think, and when you talk about doing that, what are those things we can do versus just complaining about it? And that gets into that as
Absolutely,
well.
and those are big steps. I probably shouldn't say this, but my understanding is that Fort Hays produces about 55% of its energy annually from those wind towers. Do not quote me, but I believe that is the case.
Well, you see them out there and you realize we do get plenty of wind here. And it just makes a lot of sense to have that sort of be able to harness the wind for electricity. You gave me this, and it goes along with what you do. You have several things. You mentioned a Facebook page. Tell us again the Facebook page if somebody wants to go to follow you
there. Yeah, we have a Facebook
there.
page, so FHSU Sustainability on Facebook. Please like us. I actually run that, okay, I monitor that, and I put all kinds of interesting articles about what is going on in sustainability news, also what is going on at Fort Hays, also what is going on in the community. There are always events coming up. We have a few events coming up already this month. A science cafe, we have someone coming in from Monarch Watch from Lawrence, Kansas, from KU, on December 1st at 7 p.m. at Gella's, so that will be great. We have a speaker coming in, I believe it's November 21st, on climate change at the library, Hays Public Library, 10:30, I believe, in the morning, November 21st.
They can find this on your Facebook page as well as Fort Hays State. Can they find anything on Fort Hays State?
And I have a website. My website, if you go to the Fort Hays site and type in sustainability, you will see what we're doing. I have upcoming events on that. So the Facebook, also I am on Twitter. And I post a lot on that as well, so we're gaining followers on that as well.
Andree, thanks for joining us on the program today.
Thank you so much.
Andree Brisson has been our guest here at Eagle and the ECTV Community Forum. Thanks for joining us. It's brought to you by HaysMed and by Eagle Communications, our community connected.
HaysMed is your first and best choice for healthcare. They're the only facility providing tertiary level services in this region. With more than 70 physicians and 26 specialties ranging from heart, orthopedic, spine care, cancer, obstetrics and gynecology, wound care, rehabilitation and surgery, including the Da Vinci robotic surgery, HaysMed is your comprehensive health provider for people throughout Western Kansas. HaysMed, helping people be healthy.